Hello everyone and welcome to this session on the ACT's apprenticeship scheme. We're going to discuss a case study with Hsbc, and I'm delighted to have with me David Brooke and Laura Thane. Now David, as many of you will know, is Managing Director, Corporate Coverage, Commercial Banking, Global Liquidity and Cash Management UK at Hsbc. And Laura is Associate Director, People Engagement, Lead GLCM UK Commercial Bank, Hsbc UK. In this session, we'll be discussing with David and Laura the exciting steps Hsbc is taking for their employees to take the ACT qualifications via the apprenticeship route and to utilise the apprenticeship levy, which is imposed on all companies in the UK of a certain size. In 2019, the ACT had its qualifications added to the Financial Services Professional Apprenticeship Standard. This is a level 6 standard, which is in effect an undergraduate degree level standard, which aims to support people in the financial services industry. And an apprenticeship under this standard will enable individuals to acquire the knowledge necessary to become highly competent industry professionals. The apprenticeship is delivered starting with a base of core knowledge, skills and behaviours required of all individuals entering or progressing to this level in the sector, and then a set of specialist options, which is where the ACT qualifications come in, that then provide an occupationally specific competence. So in this case, the professional treasury skills, which are really important both for financial services treasury professionals, but also for people like relationship managers, people like product sales managers, and people who want to really understand the mind of the corporate treasurer, because the corporate treasurer is indeed their client. Our first cohort of students coming through this route will be with Hsbc, who are the trailblazers in this space. And we're delighted to have David Brooke and Laura Thane here today to talk about why now, how this ties in with their L&D strategy, debunking a few myths around apprenticeships, and why the ACT qualifications are such an important part of their choice. So first of all, David, if I can turn to you, how does the launch of apprenticeships support the wider Hsbc strategy?
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you for this opportunity to share some of our experiences with the wider community. Quite simply, our focus, certainly for the foreseeable future, is around growth. And, some of that is how we build back better from COVID. And how we grow our business. But one of the key pillars is how we grow our people. And we also have within that a future skills program, because the world is changing around us. So how do we build the capabilities within our people for the future? So for the apprenticeships, it kind of supports that strategy. As does any other qualification, in fairness, but this one is quite nicely structured and will help us better support our customers and our people for the future. So it aligns very nicely with our group plan.
Well, that's great to hear, and so it should be. Now I'll just turn to Laura, if I may, but do feel free to chip in, David. People may think that apprenticeships aren't for everyone, Laura, and they may have a particular perception of them. So how do you decide which teams should continue with more traditional upskilling via the standard ACT qualifications route, for instance, versus those you feel, for whom you feel an apprenticeship is a better option?
So firstly, for us, this is a really exciting time for our business, as this apprenticeship in particular is the first of its kind, having usually just followed the standard external qualification enrolment that we will also continue to promote across our business. So we started just conducting a review of all the roles and grades to ensure that the roles fit not only the needs of the apprenticeship, but as David alluded to, the kind of needs of our people. So where individuals have previously completed an ACT qualification, this programme may not have been the right time for them because of the qualifications that they'd already obtained. And this apprenticeship provides more of a tailored learning journey where our employees will not only gain an accredited qualification, but also transferable skills that they can take with them throughout their career with Hsbc, which was the real light bulb moment for our people.
Well, thanks, Laura. And I'll stay with you a moment, if I may. and just ask you about how easy it was to launch the initiative. Because of course you'd have had to have gained senior level support and buy-in, and you'd have had to have raised awareness and promote within team leaders, and then of course with the individuals themselves who, were they actually interested in embarking on the apprenticeship journey? So how did that all work and come to fruition?
Yeah, so as David mentioned, so growth in our people is such a key pillar that we're all aligned to across the UK Bank. And we also have our own people strategy in place that covers all aspects of learning and development that our people leaders are aligned to and supportive of. So any opportunity for members of the team to grow and inherit new skills will just ensure we are fit for the future and can better serve our customers and meet their requirements. So it was very easy for us really as a business for people to get on board.
That's really great to hear, and I guess that ties back in that it matched your strategy, so
yeah,
it makes sense. Thanks very much. Now, David, we know that historically the bankers who've taken our qualifications, and there have been many from Hsbc, of course, haven't necessarily been treasurers, as I alluded to earlier. So, in fact, more often than not, they were relationship managers or product salespeople, as I said, who wanted to enhance their career progression by really getting to understand their client and how they worked, and what the world looked like from their perspective. We've also found that that was very effective in bringing the buy side and the sell side together. There were opportunities for them to be together and to create mutual respect, of course, because they were studying together. Do you think the apprenticeship scheme in relation to the ACT will be helpful to get more staff on board with this concept, that it's really important to know your customer?
Yeah, quite simply, Caroline, yes. I mean, I think we're very fortunate. Certainly within our business, my team work with treasurers every day, and actually there is, from an ACT perspective, there is a natural alignment. I'm sure if a treasurer is sitting in front of one of my team, they'd want to see that they've been through some form of qualification that kind of gives you that credibility. And interestingly, we have hired some treasurers, one that works for me. It'd be good to see it the other way and see some of my people go become treasurers. But ultimately, the learning journey, and I think the apprenticeship especially, just adds to that. It's another string to our bow. And I think helping my team understand customers better and the treasury community better is really important. And so it kind of connects quite nicely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks, David. I'm going to jump back to Laura again and ask you, learning from my research and so on is seen to be a real resilience booster for people, for their personal resilience, shall we say. Do you also hope through these apprenticeships that you would be contributing to the well-being of your staff as well as the career progression side?
Absolutely. So as again I've mentioned, we do have a very clear and defined people agenda that we drive across our business, and well-being forms a massive part of that. I think particularly with everything that happened last year, it's a real focus area for us. So enabling our people to be better and growing the roles they undertake, it not only supports individual learning but also their well-being by improving their resilience and confidence when having customers with stakeholders or customers. So any form of learning can boost well-being, and studies have found that learning throughout our lives can improve self-esteem, increase life satisfaction, optimism and belief in your own abilities. So I would definitely say the two, from a well-being and learning and development perspective, they fit together perfectly.
They're really, really important, and yeah, I think Hsbc and the ACT are aligned on this, really helping our people, and including the ACT's members, to be resilient and be able to cope with the different stresses of life, personal life, and situations such as COVID, which kind of crosses everything, doesn't it? So that's really great to hear, Laura. Has the launch improved Hsbc's level of understanding of apprenticeships across the business, and bust a few myths around the general perception that apprenticeships are for more vocationally related areas, for example, and not for banking professionals? And I'll ask this one of David, please.
Yes, probably. I mean, we didn't have any perceptions, and I can, when I think back, apprenticeships were for car mechanics. I think my brother went on one when he was, when he left school. So I can see how there might be a perception like that. We didn't really have it. We just went into this with seeing it as an opportunity. And it's the first time we've done it in our business. We've worked very closely with the ACT and Kaplan, which has made it a lot easier. So we didn't really bust any myths, but we are trailblazing a bit within our business. And the key for us was how we communicated and how we had all the leaders on a call. We took them through the concept. We then took a lot of our team through it on a call and gave them some time to give it some consideration. And we've actually got quite a few. I mean, there was a big number at first, and over time I think it's whittled down to a decent number of our team that are going to go through it. So I think there were no myths to bust, but I could imagine why there might be that perception out there. But for us, it was just a wonderful learning journey with structure and support, which all of our people were looking for. So it was quite an easy sell, I think, to our people. It wasn't difficult.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Maybe I can just get into the detail a little bit more now. A lot of employers have historically struggled with this 20% off the job aspect that is part of the apprenticeship scheme philosophy, if you like. And how has HSBC managed any challenges around this, as the perception seems to be that apprentices need to be released for 1 day per week to meet this 20% off the job requirement? How does the delivery model you've adopted address that perception? Maybe I can turn to Laura on this one.
Yeah, so it was definitely a question that was asked during the launch meetings that we had with the team. But defining the roles beforehand was such a critical part in this, as we wanted to ensure again that they align to the apprenticeship model. So we are very, very fortunate in Chelsea to work in such an agile, innovative business where projects and opportunities are readily available for our people if they wish to get involved in them. And a lot of the 20% can actually be achieved on the job. So making sure you define the roles beforehand, opportunities that are available within your business before deciding on this was, again, such a critical part that has worked really well for us.
Well, hopefully that will be helpful to those listening to kind of maybe take a leaf out of your book, so to speak. And now, again, I'm going to jumping around here again. David, you mentioned in the recent ACT Banker and Treasurer podcast with Joanna Bonnet from Page Group that you're a big advocate for learning and a willingness to learn, and that's how I know you and see you as well, because we've talked about it a lot. So do you see apprenticeships as helping you in that advocacy?
Yeah, and so every day is a school day for me. I learn something new every day, and a key part of people working in our business is that willingness to learn, because ultimately I want people to grow and move on, do bigger, better things, but reflect back that experience they've had with us. So Laura will know I don't want to keep people forever. I want them to fly the nest and flourish. And so for me, this is wonderful, because actually it gives some people a long journey. They can move within the organisation if they want to take some of that learning with them, and hopefully one day it will reflect back. So yeah, it's important to me. I'm quite passionate about it. I think it's how we grow, and as you touched upon earlier, well-being, resilience, they all play a real part in that. And I know we don't necessarily talk about these things, but our people satisfaction scores are really high in this business, which Laura works on, and I'm sure some of that is about embedded learning and the growth in people's skills.
Yeah, it's absolutely important. I don't think it's a cliche to say that people are your most valuable resource. There are some people, I think, that do kind of see it as a tick box exercise, and that really doesn't work. And I like the way you say, you're wanting people to progress, even if it's not staying with you, because when you try, I think people fail. If you try and hang on to people, well, they're going to go inevitably anyway. So you might as well be helping them. And as you say, then often, they'll come around again, and what goes around comes around. So I think seeing it in that nice holistic way and thinking genuinely about people's futures and their own development, they're going to sense that. People sense when you really believe that and mean that, I think. So
and they become big advocates, so as they move on, even outside the group, maybe one day someone will be a treasurer and part of the AT family, as I call it. They'll reflect back, and actually there's that there's a nice common link. So yeah, it's important to me. I think it's a credible way to lead a business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that, and well done again. You know, I'm a big fan of your approach there, so that's really great. Laura, again, I turn to you again. The Financial Services Professional Standard, which the ACT is on, has an approximate duration of 36 months. Was that viewed as a potential barrier for employees who were looking to embark on the programme? And if so, how did you overcome that?
So to answer honestly, Caroline, the 36 months wasn't a barrier for us. So we always look at learning and development in our business as a never-ending journey, and working in a business like Hsbc, you're constantly having to adapt and evolve with the times. So with this apprenticeship, with it not only providing the structured learning journey for our people, it's one that's transferable. Like David said, they can transfer into a different role outside of GLCM as an example, but still carry on with the apprenticeship. So it's not like they have to just stay in this one role for the 36 months. If it wasn't for them, they can progress within GLCM as well. But again, it's the fact that they can move around with it. They're not just kind of kept in the same thing for a period of time. So it wasn't a barrier. It was, again, more of an opportunity for individuals to develop their careers, enable them to achieve personal development and career aspirations.
Well, that's great, because we often hear ourselves that people, particularly the younger people coming into the workforce, are wanting to do things, you know, short and fast, and
Yep.
that's difficult, particularly with this kind of study, because you don't just learn it overnight, do you?
No.
It's interesting. I had a conversation with someone just today who's only been with us a short while and already wants to take on the world. And there is, you know, we don't want to slow people down, but you need some time for that learning. It doesn't happen overnight. But yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, very good. Now, David, you can access more of HSBC's ring-fence levy, which of course is great. How important, and just for those who don't understand this, if you're dialing in perhaps from outside the UK, or you're a company that's not large or fitting the criteria, basically there's money that has to be set aside by the business, and it cannot be used except for apprenticeships. So that money will just sit there, and you've lost it if you don't invest it. So David, how important was that as a factor in deciding to launch the initiative?
So look, in all truthfulness, it helps. It wasn't a deciding factor for us, because I mean, you'll know from the sessions I've had with the ACT is how do we build longer, more structured learning journeys. So for us, it was a benefit, of course, but not a deciding factor. I think it's great the government are supporting learning more generally through this medium. I think it's you know, another way of professionalising the business and the upskilling the employees. And yes, we tap into that money to help us do it, but you know, it wasn't a deciding factor.
Yeah, very good. And I'll stay with you now, David. Just to ask you another question in a bit more detail. Within the standard, there's a number of other professional bodies and qualifications you can choose from, of course. Why did you feel that the ACT qualifications were the most relevant for your teams?
So I kind of covered earlier, our team worked directly with the treasurers, or you've heard me talk before, the accidental treasurers. So if you think about the smaller businesses, the ones with the different kind of scale. So we are dealing with treasurers or accidental treasurers every day, and those accidental ones come to us for more guidance and help. And so having the ACT qualification, having that learning, gives us some quite good capabilities to help them. So I think it's a natural alignment. And yes, there are other qualifications we could use, but I think the ACT makes the most sense for us. We see you guys as the gold standard, so we want to work with the best, and our customers want to work with the best. So it wasn't difficult, really. Just kind of made sense to us.
Well, that's very nice to hear, David. Thank you very much for that. Laura, what key messages or takeaways would you give to other financial institutions or corporates when considering developing future talent via the financial services professional apprenticeship route?
So for an organisation of our scale, it's paramount to have a clear people development strategy. It could be smaller functions have less focus on this maybe, but it's potentially a starting point. Does the standard align with the broader plans for your people, as an example? So for us, we spent time looking at all of our roles and assessed how they can align to the standard. And that is probably what took us the most time. Then it was quite straightforward from there. Secondly, it was about developing talent, upskilling them for the future and giving them a platform to grow. So this could be a way, excuse me, of attracting talent to the business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And would you recommend the treasury or cash management pathways in that financial services professional standard to other financial institutions when thinking about developing talent in these strategically important areas of the business? And if so, why, David?
So I'd recommend it, but it's difficult. We're quite a big business with quite a lot of layers. So as Laura pointed out, we had to do quite a bit of work on assessing the roles. That was probably where the hard work was done. And then from then onwards, it was quite simple. But when I reflect, you might be a small, you might have a small structure within your business and maybe only a couple of grades or 2 layers. And so, you know, you might want to create one. You might want to create a layer to bring in that talent to help feed through the business. So absolutely, I would recommend it. But it does require a bit of work at the beginning, a bit of burn a few calories to get it right, and then I think it will be quite straightforward. So and for me, you know, it's how do we, as Laura says, how do we attract talent? How do we give them a structured learning program and help them grow? Because ultimately, the better they are, the better conversations they have with our customers, and hopefully the happier our customers will be because they're dealing with the right people. We will do, it's like a nice virtuous circle, so we will do more business together if everybody's happy. So to me, it's a bit of a no-brainer, but you know, I'm saying that from a place where we have a very well developed plan of people. But those that might not might want to think about it, might want to use this as a way of growing their business.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And in terms of the whole process now, thinking back, now that you've got to this stage that the first cohort is going live, if you like, were there any surprises along the way or things you learnt through the process that you'd like to share with our audience today? Does anything strike you?
I'll go first, Laura. I was surprised how many people put their hand up. So when we offered it out to our team, Laura might correct me, I think we had 30 people that initially put their hand up, or maybe a bit more. But some of them have already done other qualifications, so it didn't quite fit. But had they not, I think we would have had a very big cohort. So I was quite surprised by the number. And it was all grades. It wasn't our most junior. There were those that were more senior and those that have been in the bank quite a long time. So it wasn't just, hey, I'm fresh out of school, I want to do this. It was, you know, I've been in the bank for 15, 20 years and I can see this is a great opportunity. So I was quite surprised by that. And kind of wish we'd done it earlier. It's one of those, you know, it would have been an opportunity. What a wonderful opportunity it would have been some years ago when we invested a lot in our business. So, but you know, I was quite surprised by that. Laura, you got any thoughts?
I'd probably echo what you said, David. So again, not only did we have a mixture of grades, we had a mixture of roles from across the whole business, some customer facing, some head office, which is fantastic. Again, we would have probably had some of the individuals not had existing qualifications just because of some of the crossover and learns. But the fact that we have 11, I think Kaplan even mentioned, you know, that's way above what they usually get, which is just fantastic. But it just shows what a credible programme this is and how important it is just to promote it in the right way, communicate it in the right way with the people and just to get everyone on board. So, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And then just in closing, I wonder if you've got any words of wisdom, any advice for others who might be thinking of embarking on an apprenticeship scheme?
Oh, I'm not very good at words of wisdom, so you know,
Not true.
I think it's just have an open mind, go into it seeing how you can make it work. I think that's what we did. We looked at our business and we went, how many more roles can we build into this, because we started quite small and then was like, hey, well, all of these roles are relevant, so we started small and we built it out. And I think go into it with an open mind. I think having you guys with Kaplan was really helpful because it kind of helped us with some structuring and getting it right. And I think it really helped with the launch because we had ACT, Kaplan, myself and Laura doing the launch. I think, you know, and having some senior sponsorship helping with the messaging, I think really helps. It wasn't a bottom-up view, it was more of a top-down. So I think, you know, I just think it's worked really well. And maybe we were lucky, maybe we just had all the right people at the right time, but I believe you earn your luck. So we probably set it up quite nicely. And, you know, I think now I just want to see it grow. For me, it's what's the next cohort look like, and, you know, how do we build on it, you know, year on year. So, you know, no words of wisdom, but open mind, don't have any preconceived ideas.
Yeah,
it's a great opportunity.
That all sounds very sensible. And of course, if any of our audience wants to understand it a bit further, because if you don't know a lot about apprenticeship schemes, it's kind of quite overwhelming at first, you know, and the team here would be only too happy to help explain a little bit about the practicalities, how it works, what it is that Kaplan's doing, what it is that the ACT is doing, how it all fits together. Very, very happy the team would be to speak to anyone if they're interested in learning a little bit more. But that's all we've got time for today, and it was great to have you both, Laura and David, here with me to talk a little bit more about your personal experience. I think that's really helpful to people to know how it's actually worked in real life, so to speak. So thank you once again for joining us. And thank you, audience, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
thank you.
Yes, might see you all at the conference, hopefully.